that song.
It is?
Come and put a carry home. If you get there before I do, come and put a carry home. Tell all my friends that I'm coming too. Come and put a carry home. Swing low, sweet Julia. Come for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet Julia. Come and for to carry me home. You'll be home when the storm clouds rise.
Just turn it up.
Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me I'll be home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me I'll be home where my friends have gone. Oh, they tell me of that land far away, where the trees of life in eternal bloom sheds its fragrance on their unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless days. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me I'll be home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? Any better on the way to in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
So it is my pleasure this morning to introduce our speaker, Mannie Billig. Mannie is an author. His book is entitled The Art of Falling in Love with Your Time on Earth. Having the pleasure of knowing Mannie over these past several months, I can say that he is a perfect example of someone who has in fact fallen in love with life. Mannie is a great soul. He has dedicated his life to teaching and being an example of unconditional love. He is the owner and benefactor of this wonderful facility called Daytona Books and Metaphysics, which is in all reality a complete spiritual development center that provides space for this church and for many teachers and healers who share their knowledge and gifts with all of us. Mannie will be speaking on I Am in a Hurry and Don't Know Why, when all I have to do is live and die. Please welcome Mannie Billig.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for coming. You know, with all the traffic and everything, I just want to tell you how much I really appreciate it. Today, I am bringing you the message that Spirit's asked me to bring. And so, I feel like I have and we can each have a special relationship with Spirit. I got woken up this morning about 4 o'clock and changed a little bit about what I was going to talk about this morning. So, you know, what I'm saying is that life is like this. You know, it's not like this, that everything is just real smooth and it just goes along. It's more like a roller coaster ride. We have our ups, we have our downs, and just to start off, I wanted to tell a couple stories. I used to be a manager of a department store for Montgomery Wards, and I guess I was with the company about 18 years. And one day, whenever a customer wanted to speak to me, I would be available to speak to them. And one day, my secretary called me to the office and said, "There's a lady that would like to speak with you." And I said, "Okay, no problem." So I went in and sat down, and we started to talk. And she told me about all the problems that she'd been having for the last 15 years with all the appliances that she had had. And I listened very diligently. And after she finished venting, and I really had been used to handling complaints, so I didn't mind because I was concerned about her welfare. But I said, well, let me have your receipts, and I'll see what I can do to help you. And so, like I said, I was with Montgomery Wards. She gave me the receipts, and they said J.C. Penney's on it. And so, I mean, I didn't laugh at her or anything, but I said, do you realize you're in the wrong store? J.C. Penney's is down at the other end of the mall. So what I'm saying is sometimes when we get into such a hurry that we don't really act the way that we really would think that we would. If we were looking at ourselves, and this reminds me of something with my good friend Steve. Back, 15 years ago or so, when we started doing seminars, we recorded them, so we could, on a VCR, so we could play them back and everything. And the first time that Steve saw his, he says, well, I can tell you one thing, I'm going to get a haircut tomorrow. So that's what life is about, and there are really a lot of good people in the world, but we keep getting bombarded with negatives and negatives and negatives. So I want to tell you one more story about, in the same store, that what happened. Another lady asked me to come back to the office, and she wanted to close the door, and that's not really something you're supposed to do. I said, well, we have to keep it open a crack, because that's just the protocol. So we did that. But anyhow, she gave me a big wad of money, about this big, and it was like $1 bills. And it was $900 and some dollars. And I said, what's this for? And she says, well, 3 or 4 years ago, we ordered a refrigerator, and we called in and canceled it. And somehow the paperwork got mixed up, and they delivered it anyhow. And she said that my husband kept it. And she said, I've been saving $2 and $3 out of my grocery money every week because I knew that that wasn't right. So there are a lot of wonderful, wonderful people in the world, but we just don't get much of a chance to hear about it. So one thing that I'm going to talk about today, and I'm going to give you another example. Of course, I've done a lot of traveling. After coming back from Machu Picchu, I met a group in Machu Picchu in Peru. I was with the group, is what I'm trying to say. And who would ever think that 2 weeks later I would be up in Vancouver, Canada? They invited me to come to Canada to participate in a seminar for, a long weekend. So I flew up there. And the lesson that I learned there was quite profound, and it really helped me. So it's like every time I go somewhere, it's like I learn something. You know what I'm saying? Just that's so obvious. But I just wanted to tell you this little story. We were doing an exercise, and what the facilitator's name was Dr. Sharon Forrest, and I'm going to try to get her to come here sometime because she's a friend of mine. She's a wonderful, wonderful healer and teacher. And so she asked us to think about something that we hated. Okay? And so we were paired off. I was working with this young girl, and the idea behind it was to get it out. To get it out there so that it's not bothering you. Well, this young girl, believe it or not, said she hated her mother. Okay, of all the things. She hated her mother, and I said, well, why? Because I was her partner, and we're on like an individual basis talking to each other, and she says, well, I really work hard, and I get straight A's, and my mother just really doesn't appreciate me, and I don't think it's very nice of her to do that, and she never compliments me, she never I mean, she never tells me how much she loves me. She never does anything. She's just my mother. And so the next part of the program was very interesting because she became her mother. Okay? And so when she became her mother, we said, what do you hate? And the mother said, I hate the fact that I have to go to work all day, and I have to come home, and I have to do the dishes, and I have to clean the house, and nobody appreciates me. Nobody loves me. They don't understand what I've gone through. And you know what? All of a sudden, I could see the light coming on in the daughter's eyes, that she knew that her mother didn't necessarily have an easy life any more than she did. So when you can see this side of my hand, but you can't see that side, see, that's part of life's lesson. Can we just give the other person the benefit of the doubt? That's the question. Because what is our true responsibility? Our true responsibility, in my opinion, is to develop our soul. And we can't delegate that to anyone else. That's a personal responsibility. So if I'm responsible for developing my soul, well, how do I do that? Well, you know what? I call it the awakening in my book, because I'm no longer working on everybody else. I'm working on me. And then, like I said in my book, when I start to understand that I'm just a human being and I'm not perfect and I don't know all the answers, and maybe when I was born had a very tough, I call it my soul's challenge, to overcome, to grow up without my dad being there. Left one day and never saw him again until I was 30. You know, all these different things that we have to go through. But see, we've all been through that. When I was 30, my grandmother called me and said my dad had had cancer and they didn't expect him to live more than 6 months, and she thought it would be a good idea if I'd go and see him. And you know, I didn't know what to do, because I didn't feel like he did me right. But then, what do I know? You know, I don't know what his life was like. So I went out to see him out in Denver and found out that when he was 2, his dad died and he got put in an orphanage. And when he was 12, he got in trouble and got put in a reformatory. And when he was 16, he married my mother. And they had 2 kids, my sister and myself. And when my dad was away at the war, my sister was 2, I was 6 months. The babysitter took me in and changed my diaper. My sister walked off the porch and got run over and got killed by a car. And so my dad turned into an alcoholic because he didn't know how to handle life's lessons. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that we have today, is that we don't know how to deal with stress. Okay? So I call them life's challenges. Can we learn to embrace our lessons? So you know what? My dad lived another 30 years. We became best friends. But you know what? My brother's not a lawyer, and he didn't talk to him for the day he died for 30 years. And I'm not judging him, but I'm saying at least I got to understand what my dad was about. And when he took me back to the airport, he says, you know what? He said, I wasn't supposed to be there. He says, because I'm an alcoholic and I was very angry, but he says, you know what? You turned out right. Your mother did a good job. And here I found out when I was 30. I had a wonderful life, but I didn't know about it when I was going through it. Because we didn't have a car and we had to walk to the grocery store, and if it was raining, I didn't have enough sense to even get an umbrella. You know what I'm saying? And so, my mom, it was the same thing. Her parents were from Russia. When the communists took over, they had to get out of the country, and they were looking for them. So all these kind of tangled stories really get tangled up, because my mother really didn't know any better either. So, as a child or a parent, the parents don't know all the answers either. See, that's the thing. But see, our lesson is, can we just love them? I love music, and this one particular song has been dancing around in my head, so I just want to talk to you about it for a minute. I don't know how many people like country music. Does anybody here like country music? I like it. Well, this song is by Bucky Covington. It's called It's a Different World. He said, we didn't drink bottled water. We drank out of a garden hose. See how the world is changing? I mean, the world is changing, and it's really changing fast. You know, all the computers and the phones and the technology, you know, it's but you know what we're missing? What I think we're missing, and of course it doesn't mean I'm right, but when I used to come home from school, one thing I did have, all the neighbors would be sitting out on the porch and they'd be talking to each other. So the ability to communicate with each other, and they would be playing canasta. My mom would be playing canasta with them, or, you know, they'd say, well, you go make up some potato salad and I'll make some baked beans, and somebody else will do a couple hot dogs on the grill, and, you know, we learn to talk to each other. You know, life should be fun. Happiness is the way we decide to live our life. It's not something that somebody else gives us. It's not out under a rock somewhere or buried in a cave. It's just, I don't know how to explain it any other way, but this is the way I feel about it. I don't know if you ever saw the movie, and I don't remember the name, but everybody stuck their head out the window and they said, I'm mad as hell and I ain't taking this anymore. And so, you know, don't do that to yourself. Learn to become your best friend, because if you knew all the answers, why would you even be here? So the way I look at myself is that when I was born, maybe I knew everything as far as love, because kids love people unconditionally and are honest. But as I grew up, I understood that it's just one step at a time. It's not like you become perfection overnight just because you're an adult. You know, I've made mistakes with my kids and did the best I could. And hopefully they love me as much as I love them. But do they know that? See, that because there's such a thing as tough love too. I actually, because of my dad not being there, I became an enabler. You know what I'm saying? And making sure they had everything they needed and all this kind of stuff. So I went the wrong way. So that was, I don't know if it was the wrong way. I guess it was just something that I had to do. So, you know, when difficult circumstances happen, I like to tell these little stories. And I'll give you an example, but we don't know what's around the bend, okay? There was a story that Deepak Chopra talks about that I really liked, and he talked about this father and his son and the son's little pony. And so the son and the father, they loved the pony. They would brush it and take care of it and feed it. And, you know, the little boy would ride the pony, and it was just wonderful. So one day, the father and the little boy went out to the barn, and the pony was gone. He thought, oh my goodness, from the heights of being happy to the despair of, well, the pony doesn't love me, and he left, and it's just terrible. You know, why could anything like that happen? So this went on for a couple days. He wasn't there, and they were just really sad. But, you know, about the third day, they went out there, and here comes the pony, and he loved his owner so much that he brought back a big stallion to show them how much that he loved them. So, oh boy, we're all excited, you know, and it's wonderful. The pony loves us, and now we have this big stallion, and so the boy's riding the stallion, and as you might know, what happens is he tries to jump over a fence, and he falls off the horse and breaks his leg. Saying, oh no, you know, how could this be with the stallion? You know, I thought it was a wonderful thing, and here it's a terrible thing. But you know what happened? A couple days later, the men came from the army, and they took all the boys in the town, but they didn't take his son because he had a broken leg. So the moral of that story is we don't know what's around the corner. You may be going through a divorce, you may be going through family problems or whatever, but I'm just saying that if we can learn to do it with love and do it with a smile and just say, you know, I mean, I guess I got to come clean. Steve can tell you I went through one heck of a divorce. Really expensive. But I swore that I would do it with love. And I did. I made sure she had money even when I didn't. And she told the judge she wanted to destroy me. You know, and I'm not putting her down. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying this is my... the things that, just to give you an example, the things that I had to overcome. She thought the devil had me, wanted to have me deprogrammed, so I went out of love. I didn't, you know, I went, no problem. You know, the question is, how much thought have we given to the way we live our life? Are we just like a log in the river of life that is just drifting? Or are we taking control of our life and saying, you know what? I'm going to start enjoying my life because this is it. This is the real thing. You know, I wrote a poem in my book called I'll Be Happy Tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. Today's what you got. So that when you decide to be happy, and no matter what happens, then I think you send out those vibrations. When you decide to work on yourself, you know what? The whole world changes. But you know what? The world didn't change. I changed. So, in conclusion, have we counted our blessings? We can walk. You know, I saw a guy the other day when I was riding home, and both of his legs were gone. We can see, we can hear, we can love, we can feel. You know, we're pretty darn lucky. Some people really, really have it tough. Have you proclaimed your rarity? There's nobody else like you. No one else like you. You've got things to share with this earth plane that are fantastic and are going to help another person, other people. And have you gone another mile? Don't give up on yourself. Be happy. Be happy today. And then the last thing I say, use your power of choice wisely. Choose to love, not to hate. Choose to build, not to destroy. Choose love. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.